Today is the couples masterclass. So we're going to be doing the prep work for our couples retreat in April. Some of you I know are already enrolled in that, maybe most of you actually. And the dates for that workshop are April 12th, 13th, and 14th. And we are going to be at the Allegretto in Paso. Has anybody been to the Allegretto? I know some of you have, right, Julie? Yeah.
Eric and I did a couples retreat with
Yep,
Lyndon.
when Linda did Betty Joe. Yeah. And that was at the Allegretto, right? And it's really a beautiful property. It's very relaxing. It's right there in Paso Robles. And it's how do I want to explain the man, his name's Dominic Ayers. So if you guys have seen the Ayers hotels, he owns the Ayers hotels. And he built the Allegretto for himself as a sanctuary. He had just lost his son, actually, and he traveled around the world and studied healing. What do other cultures do in healing? How do people tend to themselves in grief? And he collected all these artifacts from around the world and put them in this place in Paso. And it's really beautiful to walk around, and you'll see something from like every walk of life, every culture. It's just beautiful. So you may know this about me. I love karaoke. And I took my niece to a karaoke lounge this weekend. She is 11 years old, and we rented a room and sang. And I put a little too much into the song Into the Unknown, and I lost my voice. So I am recovering right now. But if you don't know that song, it's a great song. I highly recommend it. Dita Menzel, Into the Unknown. Amazing. All right. But we're going to get started today about our couples retreat. Okay, this is the prep work that we're doing for our couples retreat. And I want to start off with a little story because I'm going to be leading this workshop with my husband, Lyndon. And I know you all know Lyndon. Everybody's met Lyndon. And I love Lyndon. I know we all love Lyndon, but I really, really love Lyndon. We have such a miraculous relationship. Honestly, it blows my mind that I can look at him nearly every day, not every day, but nearly every day, and really truly love him and appreciate who he is. I want to be around him. I'm attracted to him. I find him fun and interesting. I like spending time with him. And that's most of the time. I feel really blessed by that because other times I find him wimpy and whiny and annoying and condescending. And sometimes I fall out of love with him. I don't know if any couple can relate to that, but Lyndon and I have fallen in and out of love several times. And recently we fell out of love. And I'm going to tell you that story today. Okay. Don't worry. We fall back in love. Okay. It works out. That's not why he's not here today. He's not here today because he had a business meeting, not because we fell out of love. Yeah, spoiler alert. We're gonna be good. And by the way, the chat is on. So if you have questions or anything that you want to share, you can always put it in the chat. Jamie's monitoring the chat, and she'll let me know if there's something that I need to answer or pay attention to. Okay. So this is the story. It's the holiday season. Yeah, the holiday season is like the perfect time for conflict and struggle to arise. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's the holiday season. Lyndon and I are living with Lyndon's parents because we just bought a house that we haven't moved into yet that's under construction. So we're managing that. We also are trying to keep life as normal as possible for our three-nager who's learned the word no with this kind of emphatic passion, right? And she's really learning how to assert herself as an individual in this world, right? So she's all kinds of fun. And she's feeling displaced, and we're trying to tend to her. And we recognize that we have a lot to manage during this holiday season. So we say, you know what? We are going to consciously not invest in our relationship. We're actually going to lean on the strength of our relationship because we have to manage so many things that we're kind of going to live parallel lives right now. Like we usually have date nights, or we usually have things that we do together, just the two of us. And we're actually going to, with an agreement, put that on pause while we manage these other things that are going on in our life right now. Well, after 2 months of that, we hit a like what I would call a what a like a it hit a level of strain that was palpable, right? He could feel it, I could feel it, probably everybody around us could feel it. We were strained by managing all of this stuff, right? And I experienced Lyndon as very criticizing at this point, right? Like I would ask him a question and I don't even remember what he said, but it would have a tone of like, "Oh, no, 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 no," right? Like it had that tone. You know what I mean? And so then I would kind of, okay, fine. And, so we had that dynamic going on. Can any couple relate to this at all? Is there anybody had this like short tone? None of you. Julie's the only one. Come on. Thank you, Darcy. Thank you. Yeah, we do. We get strained and then we get a little snippy, if that's a word, or crunchy, right? And in my opinion, at this point in this 2-month period, Lyndon was snippy. He was the one who was being criticizing. Yeah. I was just trying to help us move our life forward, but he was being really snippy. You see where this is going, right? So I wanted to get away from him. I just wanted to be away from him. As far as I was experiencing him, he was an irritant in my life. And I wanted to get away from him because he was irritating me, because he was being so critical. And I'm just trying to help, right? So I would find excuses, like I got to go run errands, or I got to go do this thing, or I've got blah, blah, blah. So I could get away from him. I could create space from him, right? But then all of these years of work that I've done on myself caught up with me in the moment, right? And I realized that I was experiencing Lyndon as a reflection of what was going on in me, right? So stay with me. Lyndon wasn't criticizing me. I was feeling criticized. And when I realized that I was projecting this criticism into the experience, I did my work. I went, okay, what's going on inside of me? And with a couple of questions and just a moment of support, right? From my just moment of space for myself, I really got that. Okay, I feel behind everywhere. We are managing a lot and I feel behind everywhere. Nothing is going well because of me. If I were doing better, this would be moving forward faster, or this would be happening smoother, or this would be. So you can hear the self-critical nature of my thinking, right? So when Lyndon's being snippy, probably because he's stressed out, has nothing to do with me necessarily, right? I was the one who was being, okay, ready? Whiny, wimpy, annoying, and condescending. Right? Just a moment ago, I'm like, he's being all that way. No, I was being whiny, wimpy, annoying, and condescending inside of myself. And not just with Lyndon. It was all over. It was like, I wasn't parenting well enough. I wasn't managing this construction project well enough. I wasn't It was like all over the place. And when I got the historical nature of that thinking pattern, right? I didn't come to this world with that thought. I learned that thought somewhere, right? When I got that I was applying that story in my life, I felt free. I went, oh, actually, it's not that this stuff isn't going well. It's just not going the way I had pictured, right? It's going as well as it's going. We're in the middle of it. I got to move this stuff forward. And actually, I don't need space from my partner. I need to be close. We need to connect. We're not connecting, right? And as soon as I realized that, I had all kinds of compassion for Lyndon. I'm like, he's being short and snippy. I wonder what's going on with him, because we're not sharing these things, right? So it was Christmas Eve. We had just put Grace down. I go, we need to go on a walk. And he goes, okay. And I take his hand and we go outside and we go on this long walk. We go and look at all the neighborhood and the lights and everything. And I'm getting emotional even thinking about it. I'm like, how are you? How are you doing? We've got a lot going on. What's it like for you? And by the way, I'm feeling like you're criticizing me, but I recognize that this is what's going on with me. So I share him what I've realized. And we have this really, what I would call vulnerable and intimate walk where we really just revealed what was going on inside of ourselves to each other. And we walked back in that house, a refreshed couple. And we had a great Christmas, and we had so much fun with each other and with Grace and our family. And what I found interesting was that I thought I needed space from him. But what I really needed was togetherness. What I really needed was a connection, right? That's what our relationship needed. It didn't need space. It needed a connection. And that's what we're going to work on in this couples workshop, is being able to know when the relationship needs space and when it needs togetherness. And I got to tell you, it's risky. When I'm feeling defensive, I don't want to pull him in and connect. I want to push him away, right? And if he needs space or our relationship needs space and I'm nervous, I want to pull him in. But actually, we need a breather. So being able to hold that kind of vulnerability in ourselves, to be able to take that risk, to have that kind of confidence that our relationship can withstand that kind of togetherness and separateness, is a big part of what we will be doing in this workshop. Make sense? You with me? Okay, great. So usually when we talk to couples, there's usually it's like, what would be ideal in your relationship? What would you like? It usually falls into one of two categories, right? One is, I want to have more love, more intimacy, more connectedness. I want to feel like we are engaged and together in this life, right? Some kind of closeness. It falls into that category, right? And sometimes it falls into a different category, which I'm going to call desire and eros and passion, right? I want us to have more passion for each other. I want us to desire each other. I want to long for them or want them. I want us to have a greater love life, with passion and ecstasy and all of that stuff. It's like that's fallen to the wayside because we've got kids and we've got work and we've got all this stuff going on, right? And in this workshop, we are going to say that both of those are vitally important to a healthy relationship. To have that tenderness and that closeness that comes with vulnerability and togetherness, right? But also the passion and the desire and the longing that comes from separation, distance, and difference. And being able to manage both of those at the same time. Okay. So unfortunately, our minds would love to schedule that. I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel that way. It's like, okay, so we'll do 2 days on and 2 days off. That works, right? We'll like be really, really deep and intimate, and then we'll pull away and we'll have our rest. And then, it's like, that would be great. Wouldn't it be great if we could just like know that that's all it needs? But our life is too dynamic, and we are too dynamic as individuals to have it be equal parts. Sometimes our relationship really needs that closeness, and sometimes our relationship really needs that separateness, and we might be close for months and then take 2 days with a friend or go away or do something, right? Someday, like I know a couple, they spend 6 days apart a week. They have 1 day, and it really works for them, right? So every couple is going to have their own blend and their own mix. And so in this workshop, what we're attempting to do is to be able to tune into the relationship and see what the relationship needs and being willing to serve that. And that's a very dynamic process. It's not just like on Sundays, I'm going to have my own day or something like that, right? It's not what's the word I'm trying to say? It's not something that we can anticipate. We have to be tuned in to see what the relationship needs. Yeah. And so we want to really balance this space and this distance and this closeness and the togetherness. And what we want to do is watch where the relationship needs it, but we create it unconsciously. And when we create it unconsciously, like I start a fight so I can get some space, right? Or I you'll hear from my story a little bit later, how I fake needing help or being a victim so that my husband can come save me because I need togetherness, but I'm afraid or it feels really vulnerable to ask for togetherness. Yeah, Lisa, you're like, oh, I recognize that one. Yeah. Yeah. So we will unconsciously create it, which for better or for worse, we can create good relationships doing this. But in terms of the vitality of ourselves and our togetherness, it does zap vital energy from the couple to do that, to fake being a victim so you can come save me and we can be together. Right. So we're going to get into that in a second. Right. But what we want to do is we have to first go to ourselves, see what we need, then look to the relationship and tune into what the relationship needs. Okay. So I'll give you a model for this. Okay. And it's expanded on a model I know you all know. Okay. We're just going to expand it a little bit. Okay. So before we get into that, I want to warn you. Nah, that seems too dangerous. I want to seed it in your mind. Okay. That we're going to disrupt your level of comfort. Yeah. So if you join us in this workshop and you take advantage of the processes, there is a way that we have leaned into our relationship that's very comfortable. It may not be ideal, but it is comfortable. Like I've already alluded to you guys, there's a way that I pretend to be a victim so that Lyndon will come save me. Right. And we both have become very comfortable with this dynamic. Now, I can't say that it's ideal, but we have leaned into it. Right. So, my question to you before we begin is, why would you be willing to disrupt it? What matters to you in terms of your vision of your relationship or what you think you're capable of together? Or why it matters to you as an individual that you would want to disrupt the way it has been for what it could be? Right? So I'm asking you to think about what's the vision of the relationship that you're interested in? What's the ideal that you would be willing to disrupt the way it currently is? Because the way I think it could be really matters to me. So what's that way you think it could be? Why would you be willing to disrupt your habits so you could have more aliveness? What's the vision that you see that makes it worth it? I know you have a vision, Marcella.
Are you looking for us to answer that, or is
I
that
would love for you to answer
rhetorical?
that. No, I would love for you to answer that. I mean, just take it, and I'll prime the pump here. When I thought about that, I really got that I grow as a person when I nurture our relationship. Like it calls something from me, and I love that. Like that's something that I love. I wake up excited to do that, like to see what else I'm capable of. And so for me, one of the reasons that I wrote down was I want to see what comes of me when I demand a higher level of connection and a willingness to separate from each other. I'm interested to see who I become in that. That was just something that I wrote. Right. So I do want to prime the pump a little bit, but if it's like, you know what I did, like, what is the vision of our relationship? What could it be? Then it might be a question for you to consider, but I want you to I'm just going to give a little bit of space for you to think about it. Does anybody have one that they'd be willing to share?
I have a thought.
Yeah,
This is
Cindy, love to
Cindy.
hear.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. Um, our son and daughter-in-law came to our home to live back with us right on Christmas Eve. And they have a wonderful dog whose name is Zeus. And when he sees my husband, Kevin, and myself, he just wags his tail. He is so happy.
Oh my gosh, I love
And
this.
so Cassie, listening to your question, I hadn't visualized it before, but I would like to be able to be like a wagging happy dog when I see
Feel
my
like Zeus
husband
feels.
instead of, "Oh, what now? What's wrong?" What do you need? I'm tired. So, Cassie, kind of going back to you with your story about
Right.
all of the pressures. It's like at work and with the nonprofit that I'm involved with and other responsibilities and my aging parents and those. It's like pick, 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 pick. I have to be the responsible one. And
Ah.
so poor Kevin, he's there. He's just trying to be this helpful dog, basically. Um, and he'll ask me a question. And before being involved with productive learning, I would just say, what? Even on the phone from calling from
Yeah,
work.
right. Oh,
And
but
now I'm more conscious of it. So I just say, yes. But I know I'm still
you
annoyed.
know that you're still,
so,
yes.
so I want to be like Zeus, like, yay, I get to be with my husband instead of how long do we have to, how long is this? Whatever.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, that's such a great, great, great picture, Cindy. Thank you so much. Yeah, could you imagine running to your partner like a dog runs to, like, just like, yay, oh my God, you're here, you're here, you're here. You know, you flip over on your back so you can rub your belly and everything. Like, could you imagine how fun would that be? I think I might greet Lyndon that way today. Yes, as newlyweds. As newlyweds. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in a second. I'm going to talk about that in a second. There is a possibility for that kind of spark. But we've got to give it space to grow, and then we've got to nurture it when it needs it, right? Cool. Any other ones? That was so good, Cindy. Thank you. Yes, Darcy.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So I think one of the motivations for better connection with my husband is better modeling for the kids.
Mm,
And I didn't have great modeling, I think, of the connection between my parents. They basically didn't have a connection from what I
yeah,
could see. And so showing them a good, healthy relationship is a good
yeah,
motivator.
yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Why is it worth it? Because I want to show them what's possible. I want to show them what's possible when two people are in love and that they make it last for a long time. That's great. Oh, I love that. Thank you, Darcy. Cool. Any other ones to share? Okay. Well, hopefully that gives you some ideas if you're still like, what is this ideal vision? What's the way that it isn't that it could be? And I know if you're on this call and you have a partner who's willing to do this work with you, you already have a great relationship. So I'm pushing you to think about like what does extraordinary look like? What does mind-blowing look like? What does it look like to be a happy, thrilled dog the minute your partner walks into the room, even though you've been married for 30 something years, right? Yeah, I know. Cindy's like, well, we got our work cut out for us, but it is possible. It really is. It really is. Okay. Now here's the bonus question for those of you who wrote something. Do you think your partner knows that you want this? Or why it matters to you? I just want you to consider that and just marvel at that if you don't. Okay. So just something to think of. Okay. So now, does everybody have a sheet of paper? I know Ron and Diane, but Anne are in the car. But for everybody else, everybody has a sheet of paper, something to write with and write on. If not, you can imagine this in your mind's eye. Okay. But what I want to talk about, and I know some of you that were in the women's retreat know about this, but I want to talk about domains, about our domain. Okay. So for those of you with a paper, you're getting a paper, I see you, that's great. What I want you to do is I want you to draw a square. Okay. You're going to take just one part of the paper, just put a square on it. And in the middle of the square, I want you to write my domain. My domain. Okay. And then you'll draw another square. And in that square, you'll put my partner's domain. And I want to give you a definition for domain. Okay. Our domain is everything that we have a right and responsibility to. If I have a right and responsibility to it, it's mine. And if we think about this a little bit, everything that we have a right to, we have a responsibility for. And everything that we have responsibility for, we have a right to. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. So in terms of relationships, at least at this point, because we could talk about domains in all kinds of places, right? There, some of you have a domain as a parent, you have a domain as your role at work, right? There's all kinds of domains and there's rights and responsibilities that fall into those domains, depending on what we're talking about. But for our relationships and for the purposes of this workshop, I want you to put 2 things in your square. Okay, and then you're going to put the same 2 things in their square, right? So in your square, it's going to be your body and your internal experience. That's your domain. You have a right and a responsibility to your body, and you have a right and responsibility to your internal experience. Right? Now, of course, we're going to put the same thing in their square, their body and their internal experience. Okay. Now, how many of you know you try to take care of your partner's internal experience? Yeah? Okay. How many of you know you want your partner to take care of your internal experience? If you could just, I wouldn't edit it, right? Okay. So in between these 2 squares, what I'd like you to put is a triangle. And in the middle of that triangle, I'd like you to write drama. Drama. The dreaded drama triangle. Yeah, otherwise known as the victim triangle. I love it. Are you getting Rich is laughing? Did you know that was coming? Yeah, you're like, I mean, come on. Yeah. And if you don't know the victim triangle, I think you all do. Everybody knows the victim triangle, right? We've talked about this. Yeah. They're like giving me thumbs up. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. The minute we leave our domain, the second we try to take responsibility for somebody else's internal experience or their body for that matter. How many of you are like, are you going to work out? Are you going to go for a walk? What are you doing? Yeah. Like, what are you eating? Are you really eating that? Right? It's like, we are on the drama triangle. The minute we leave our domain for theirs, we're on the drama triangle. We're either playing the victim, the villain, or the rescuer. Right? Okay. And this happens so subtly. It happens in a relationship. And if we are not if we're not like ruthless with ourselves about this, we can construct relationship dynamics, relationship identities on top of this. Okay. So I'm going to give you a very subtle example of how this works. Okay. Because I know you get the concept, but I'm going to give you an example of this. Okay. So let's say you come home from work. Okay. And you say, oh, honey, today was tough. Okay. Today was tough. My boss isn't giving me the support I need. And I keep asking, but it feels like he just doesn't understand or he doesn't get it because he keeps giving me more to do. And I don't know how else to tell him. I mean, I'm already told him I'm maxed. Like I'm just exhausted. Yeah. And then your partner comes back and says, you know what you need to do? You know what you need to do? You should go talk to HR and have them put it in writing and then have them bring that to your boss and have your boss sign it so that there's a third party involved. That's what you should do. Okay? Subtle. It's very, very subtle. But what just happened? What happened?
My partner is attempting a rescuing mission.
That is a rescue mission. I will save you from this pain, honey. I will save you. I have an idea you've probably never thought of. I'm going to tell you all about it. Now, just like I said, some of us have built relationships around this, right? I do this kind of stuff all the time where I come into Linda and I go, I'm so tired. Oh. And Linda goes, I'll save you. And I go, oh, thank you, right? And we do this like whole dance, right? Sometimes we just want to talk about it. Like, I just need to vent because it was a hard day. I just need to offload this energy. And once I get it out of my system, I'm good. So then the minute you come in and try to fix it, now I'm annoyed. Why are you fixing it? Just listen to me. Right? Anybody relate to that? Right? So there's two people playing here in some level where we have disowned our right and responsibility to our internal experience. Right? Partner one who comes home and complains doesn't let partner two know what they want or need. They just come in and dump their basket, right? And partner two thinks, okay, well, what about this? Like, can I help you this way? Can I make this better for you this way? And it's so subtle. And honestly, the intent of it is so pure and sweet, right? It really is. We want each other to be happy. We want each other to be fulfilled. We want each other to be at ease, right? We do. We want that. We just don't realize how much that is connected to, I want me to be happy and at ease and peaceful and fulfilled. And if you, the person I love, are not happy and at ease and fulfilled, then I don't feel like I can be. Right? So there's a way that this is connected in a way that, again, it zaps the vitality of the relationship, right? So it's innocent and it's well-intended, right? But we are stepping into each other's domains, or we're not taking full responsibility for our domain. And when that happens, it's really hard to see what we need and what the relationship needs. How do I know if I need closeness? How do I know if I need a separation? How do I know if I need these things for the relationship to thrive? Because I've actually depleted some of my vital energy. Okay. So if I want to be able to tune into the relationship, I need to be firmly in my domain. I need to be firmly in my domain so I can tend to the relationship. Okay. So let me see. So yes, I already told you about how I feign being a victim, and then Lyndon gets to be a hero and he gets to come in and save me, right? And there is connection that happens in this, right? And there is, I mean, I wish Lyndon was here to like share his side of the story, because he might be like, you know what, after 11 years, I'm kind of done, Cass. Like, but like for me, I'm like, this is great. There's so many things that all I have to do is whine about, and then you come and take care of it. It's awesome, right? But it does wipe out the vital energy for me to think that I'm a victim, right? For me to think that I can't do it on my own. And it does take away something from me and our relationship, that I don't come and consciously ask him for support or ask him for what I need, right? That I whine about it, and then he comes in and takes care of it, versus, hey, babe, I'm maxed and I would like some help with this. Could you help me think through this or do this or take care of this? Right now, that's risky for me to do. Right? That's risky for me to do for a couple of reasons. One, he might say no. He might say no. He might say, you know what? I totally want to help you. Now's not the time, or I can't do it in that way, or this or whatever. And then we have a conversation, and that is the unknown. That's unpredictable. I have no idea how that's going to go. That's just risky, right? There's another risk in there for Lyndon, where if he can't give it to me, I might go get it from somewhere else. Okay, this doesn't mean I'm going to step out on Lyndon or whatever, but it does mean that a place where we would normally be connected because he's saving me from something, I go and consciously get it from somewhere else so that I can get it done and get it taken care of. And that creates separation in the relationship. And if we aren't prepared for that, it feels risky to our connection, right? If we're not consciously going through that, it feels risky. Okay. So the other thing that it does, though, is it empowers us. It actually gives us energy. For me to come in and say, hey, here's this thing I'm struggling with. I really need some help, right? Because now I've not disempowered myself by playing the victim. And it empowers Lyndon as an individual for him to say yes or no, or here's when it works for me, here's when it doesn't, or whatever, and for us to have the conversation. It actually shows us something that our relationship is capable of handling, that gives us both energy and power, if you will. Right? But remember, there's some inherent risk in there. And so there's an idea that if we engage in these kinds of conversations in a conscious way, where I am tending to my domain, the things that I have a right and responsibility to, most importantly, my internal experience, right? Because like Cindy, like you were saying, I could get on the phone and be like, yes, honey. And inside I'm like, what? No, seriously, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like that. And that's my experience. That's my internal feeling. I want to be able to get on the phone and say, yes, honey, and mean it, like feel it in all of me, right? I want to feel that in all of me. And so when I tend to my domain and I am asking for what I need, I am requesting what I want, we're figuring out ways to give it to each other, we do enter the possibility of having a re-elation-ship. Okay? From having a relationship to a re-elation-ship, the state of being elated over and over and over and over again. And this is what people call the honeymoon phase. Right? This is what it is to be a newlywed. It's thrilling. That was the thing that happened at the beginning of our relationships. We didn't know how these things were going to shake out. And then they shook out in this unbelievable way. And it was like, oh my gosh, I really love you. This is really great. Right? And so we are attempting to go into the unknown, to take responsibility for something that up until now we've passed off to our partner, so that we can engage in a way that has us feeling elated over and over and over again. Okay, do you believe it's possible? Are you tracking what I'm saying? And you believe it's possible? Some of you are a little incredulous, but maybe you're like, prove it. Yeah, some shaking heads, some questions. Anybody have questions about what I've said so far before I move on? I don't want to. Yes, Lisa.
Okay, so I noticed that in my mind, I'm like, well, it never came to mind to ask consciously. It's a lot easier just to whine. But then I hear myself say, well, I do that because then I don't put pressure on him. See, like it's almost like I'm in his domain also.
Yes.
It's very like a weird intermingling thing happening.
Yes, that's so good. It's so good. Yeah, you come in and whine. I relate to this, so I can say it, right? And then he makes the choice to come and help you or take care of it or something like that, right? And so there's a little bit of like freedom. Well, I never asked, right? He just did it on his own, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? And so it feels
Yeah.
like if I ask, then I'm going to put pressure on him. And you know what? You are. When you ask him, you are going to put pressure on him. You're going to say, hey, this is the thing I need. Are you going to say yes or no to this? And you, at the time of your asking for it, are available for him to say no. Right? And there is pressure in that because there's a risk. If he says no, what does that mean for your relationship? Even though right now he might be thinking, actually, it's not a good time for me, or I'd rather not, or can we figure out something else? Right? That is the pressure of the unknown.
Yeah.
Right? And I know for me, the unknown has never let me down. That's why I lost my voice singing that song so intensely.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's about preparing in a way myself for the unknown.
For the unknown. Like I am going to go put pressure on our relationship because I'm not going to do the normal thing. I'm not going to do the habitual thing. I'm going to do the conscious thing. And I'm going to let him make the choice consciously rather than him reacting to my whine or complain or whatever.
So it's changing the relationship to what it means to apply pressure too. Because in my mind, it's like, whoa, you shouldn't pressure your partner. But this is like a reframe of that even.
It is, because pressure, the way that we none of us want to be the villain pressure to be like, if you don't do this, I'm going to go find somebody else to do it. I mean, I don't know, right? Like there's a way that we could put pressure that it's like, you're going to completely let me down if you don't do this. Versus the conscious pressure of, honey, I would like your help, but you may not be available to help me and I can go get it someplace else, but I'd like to share this with you. There is pressure in that statement, but it's pressure to be 100% responsible for his domain.
Yeah.
While you're being 100% responsible for yours. Right? You're giving him the opportunity to say no. But you're giving him the opportunity to say yes. From a resourced place, not a, oh, if I don't do this, then it's going to get worse. Let me take care of it so I don't have to hear the whining anymore. Right? For whatever it is. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that helps.
Okay, good. Good. Any other questions or comments before we go on? Okay, good. Okay. So like I said, the good news is if you're on this call, you have a partner that's willing to do this work with you, which is great. Because like I said, going into that unknown, as much as I believe that the possibilities are delightful, they're great. Like the outcomes of taking these risks are joyful and replenishing and refueling and fulfilling. It is risky, but you have a partner who's essentially agreed to it because they're here. They're willing to do this with you. So that is something to celebrate at this point, you know, to like relax into, you know what, I have a partner who's willing to do this with me so that as I grow, change, and evolve, my partner is with me in that, not only in support of my doing that, but in support of themselves doing that too. That's really special. It's just really special. And I hope that we could take a moment to savor how special that is. Because the next question I'm going to ask you is intense. So let's just take a moment to relish the fact that we have a partner who's willing to do this with us. Okay. So if we are going to be in the state of elation over and over and over again, right? It does mean that we are taking risks, right? There is that kind of pressure that Lisa talked about. I can get it from you, but I can also go somewhere else. I can do it on my own. I can do whatever. And I'm going to invite us into this together. Or you know what? I'd really like to share this with you, and I'm totally afraid of how you're going to react to me. Can I say it and just get it out? And then I'd love to hear your feedback. But I know that if you start to ask questions in the middle of this, I'm going to get scared and turtle, right? So if you could just listen, that'd be great, right? It's like these are the kinds of conversations we're going to be having with each other. And like I said, there's an empowering feeling that comes with it, but there's also a risk. And it's part of the risk and the unknown that creates the thrill of it, right? That elation aspect of it, right? That's where desire comes from. Desire says, I don't have it. I want it. I long for it. It's not here, right? And so part of being willing to take these risks is to say, I don't know how you're going to react to this, which means there's something about you I don't know, which means you are unfamiliar to me, which opens up the possibility of, ooh, I like you. I long for you. You are interesting to me, right? It opens up the possibility for that kind of experience, especially when we've been with somebody for 30 something years. Like, oh yeah, I don't know how you're going to respond to this because I haven't brought this part of me to our relationship yet. Who are you in the face of this new me or in the face of this way of being that's coming from me? It can be very exciting. Okay. So here's the question. You have to answer it. Okay. Do not be too enlightened to answer this question. What do you wish your partner would do or change? I know that it's all a reflection of me. No, no, you don't. Not today, not right now. I wish my partner would change this, or my partner should do this. Why don't they do that? What do you hope for your partner? That's another one. Or what they're not doing that they should be doing, you know, like I've asked and I've asked and I've asked.
It's kind of funny hearing that question. Well, not funny, but just kind of ironic. What do you wish your partner would do or change? It sometimes goes back to me, like, what do I need to change so that he'll be happier?
Oh,
So I'll be less annoyed.
yes. Oh, good. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Very good. So, I mean, the way that you go about solving it is that you think that you need to do something, you need to change, or you need to be a certain way. But the desire is that he would be happier, right? If he was happier, I wouldn't feel this annoyed.
It's like that saying, happy wife, happy life.
Yes.
Um,
Happy husband, happy
so I
life.
changed it for him. Good food, good mood.
Got it. I love it. Excuse me. That's great. That's great. And this is the thing, when we are fully in our domain and tending to our domain, we know that there are things that we could do to contribute to our partner's life that makes them happy or joyful. But we're doing that because we enjoy doing it. Right? It's like, I know that there are certain ways of being that Lyndon responds really well to. And when I'm good and I'm in a good place, I'm like, honey, sit down. Talk to me about this. Let me rub your shoulders. Tell me about it. Was that hard? It was hard, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Like, I'll listen. I'm good. I'm just like, I know he likes it. So I do it. Because I want to. Not because if I do, then he'll finally be happy and we can have a nice night. It's a difference. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's hear some. What should your partners do? They should be happy. Why are they happy? You're like, my partner's sitting right here. I'm not ready to do this, Cassie. We haven't had the workshop. Yeah, right here.
They should be more active, more health conscious.
More health conscious.
Because selfish, I want him around for a really, 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 really long time.
Very good. I love that. I love that. And Julie, I'm just going to say this to you because I love you so much. I would love for you to rewrite the idea of selfish as it relates to that.
Yeah, thanks for that prompt. That makes sense.
Okay, good.
Because you know me.
I do. Yeah. Yeah, you're awesome. I know. Or I'm amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we want our partners around. I do. I want my partner around for a really long time. I do. Right? That's important to me. Okay. What else? What else should your partner do? Okay, should I share Lyndon? Because he's not here, right? I should talk about what Lyndon should do. Oh, Lyndon. There's so many things I wish he would do. But the biggest one is I want Lyndon to let me know what's going on in his life without me having to ask and pry. Why isn't he just sharing it with me? Sometimes I'm afraid that if I don't ask him the question, he'll never tell me about things that are going on for him. And what is he holding on to that I'm not asking about? Freaks me out. Because if I pull the thread on that, and this is where I'm going to go with all of you guys, okay? Because if I pull the thread on that, I'm afraid I'm not doing enough for us. And if I'm not doing enough for us, then he won't want me anymore. And if he doesn't want me anymore, he's going to leave me and I'm going to be devastated. And it will all because I wasn't doing enough. I didn't ask the questions I should have known to ask. Right? So this comes up with our follow-up question, because remember, I want you to have a really good reason to disrupt your habits so you can have a more vital, loving, and desirous relationship, right? I want you to have a relationship. Okay. And if we are wanting our partners to change or be different, like most of you are really, you're coming together on this, right? You are seeing, you want that for something that's in your domain, right? I'm afraid that I'm not doing enough. I'm afraid I will be left. I'm afraid I will be devastated. I'm afraid I'll be hurt, right? Where am I focusing on Lyndon and not tending to my own domain? I have abandoned my domain and the things that I need to talk about for me so that I can tend to my right and responsibility to my internal experience, right? I got to tend to my internal experience. And I do it in an unconscious victim way. Well, I need to ask you the right questions. And why don't you ever tell me these things? And I shouldn't, blah, 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 blah. Versus a more vulnerable conversation, which is, honey, I want to know about your life. And I'm afraid that if I don't know and you don't tell me, you'll leave me. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how I'm afraid of that because I love you and I want you around. Can we talk about that? That's a more vulnerable conversation than me being anxious and worried about what he's not telling me. It's subtle, but it's powerful. Do you see the difference? So this is the question. Did you have a question, Cindy? I saw you kind of lean forward. No? Okay. So this is the question that I want you to consider between now and couples, because this is where we're going to begin in couples. And where we're beginning in couples is, where do I abandon my domain in our relationship? In what ways do I abandon my domain by focusing on theirs? Right? So the trick here is, what do I focus on in my partner that I think is about them? They need to be more active. They need to be happier. They need to do this. They need to do that. Right? I want you to focus on all of that, because we're going to bring that to the workshop and look at what in our domain needs to be tended to and how do we tend to it in a conscious way. Because otherwise, we're using our partner as a scapegoat for not tending to ourselves. It's unconscious. This is something that we have kind of woven into the fabric of our beings, because when we were little, we needed somebody else to feel okay in the world. We needed our parents to take care of us. We needed our parents to see our needs before we even saw it ourselves. So we were raised on that victim triangle in a way, but innocently, right? And now we get the opportunity to consciously take ourselves out of it so we can create a co-creative relationship, which brings the elation into our relationship over and over again. So that's where we're headed. Okay, so you have something to think about between now and April. What do I need my partner to do? What do I hope for them? What do I wish for them? What do I want that they could just do this, right? Just focus on that, all the subtle ways that that takes place. Okay, now, between now and then also, I would like you to schedule a call with Lyndon. Okay, so Jamie, would you mind putting Lyndon's email into the chat? Okay, so I think all of you are taking the workshop, or maybe you will be taking the workshop, but schedule a call with Lyndon. Lyndon and I did talk about this masterclass. I have shared this with him. He knows these things, right? And he wants to work with you guys as well, just like I have. So you schedule a call with him and he can help get you prepared for the retreat in April. Okay, so you will email him, he'll send you a link to set up a call with him, and we will start to get ready for the couples retreat. Okay, we are going to have fun. I know this sounds deep and heavy and like, oh my gosh, I'm abandoning my domain and focusing on my partner and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's work. Okay, we'll do some work. We're going to have some fun with it too. We're going to have a blast. And my intention is that we all leave there really understanding how to consciously engage with our partner to create intimacy and love, and how to consciously disengage to create desire, longing, and passion. And we're going to do that by standing firmly in our domains. Okay? Got it? You with me? Thanks for putting up with my sultry Lauren Bacall voice. I appreciate you all. And if you have any questions, you can also email me, but I look forward to seeing you in April.